everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing square roots. You might recognize the word squared from a topic that we saw a little bit ago. And no, I don't mean a square with like little roots sticking out of it like it's a tree. I mean, dun dun dun, square roots. Okay, so let's talk about them. Square roots might look fancy, right? They're like these little things, like they have a little swoop and they go over. But they're actually just really simple. It's basically just the reverse of a squared, right? So we know what a square is when you multiply something by itself to get an answer. So example, like 4 squared is 16, 3 squared is 9, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, right? So this is basically just the reverse of it. In other words, it's asking what number multiplied by itself gives me this number. So for example, right? 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So if we take the square root of 9, we're asking ourselves, what two numbers equal to 9, right? So we can do 3 times 3. So essentially the square root of 9 is going to be equal to 3. So now the same thing with 25. What's the square root of 25? I'll give you 1 second to answer it. Okay, hopefully you had enough time. So you should be able to break this down into 5 times 5. If you're having a little bit of issues understanding like kind of where I'm coming from with these squaring, like the 5 squared 5 times 5 thing, I just recently uploaded a video on squares and that one should be able to help you out a little more. But basically, square root of 25 is going to be equal to 5. So basically, when you think of the square root symbol, just kind of think of it as like a little question mark, right? And it's asking you which numbers can create this square, right? Here's another example, another real world example. If you remember from the last video, I talked about my little garden, right? And I talked about the area of it. So let's say that I want to know the sides of my garden. Pretend this is a square. Let's say I want to know how big the garden is, but I tell you that the area is equal to 36 meters squared, right? So now think about it. Area is equal to length times width, which on a square is equal to side squared. So if we know that area is equal to side squared, and we know that 36 is a perfect square, what could the side lengths be? Let's take a look. Side squared is equal to 36, right? So we're going to take the square root, we're going to take the square root. So our side is equal to 6. Good job. Hopefully you're able to kind of follow along with that one. So square roots are basically just an undoing of the squaring process. So if square makes a number bigger, square root essentially makes the number smaller and brings it back to its original value. Here's some more examples that I want you to try. The square root of 49, the square root of 64, and the square root of 100. I'll give you 1 second to do those and pause the video and come back when you're done. Okay, so hopefully that was enough time. So I'm going to kind of break this down for you and do it with you. So the square root of 7 times 7, right? So basically, square root is telling us that those two, so the answer has got to be 7. So the square root of 8 times 8, when you break that down, those are the two numbers that square to make 64. We get 8. And the square root of 100 is 10 times 10, right? So we get 10. Great job. Hopefully y'all did those and you followed along. So basically, square roots show up in so many different areas of math, geometry, physics, and if you're taking CS, they even show up in CS. Once you know your squares, square roots are super easy to understand. So if you're lost at all, go watch that other video. So basically, whenever you see that special little symbol, just remember, it's asking what number squared equals this number. Okay, bye.